depending on where you work, some of these jobs can be highly stressful. And it is in Los Angeles, especially during my time out in the street, it was literally 110 miles an hour. It was unbelievable. And how do you decompress from something like that? How do you go on to work for 8 hours, 45 minutes, in most cases overtime? And how do you come back and relate to your family some of the horrific things you've seen, some of the excitement that you've been involved in, some of the dangers that you encountered, some of the altercations you might have been involved in, or foot pursuits, or victims of crime that you just were absolutely heartbreaking. And that's a hard question to answer with a simple answer. Just simply isn't available. I think what I did is, in many cases, I had things to go to. I like surfing. I used to shoot the longbow. There were different activities I had, like reading, writing, and so forth. So there were different things that I did that would take me away from police work, that were completely devoid of working anything tactical or firearms related or police oriented at all. I like to travel. So there were different things that I did personally that seemed to help me decompress. It also is very hard, and when you're younger, you might not, I don't know, I didn't initially, it was a skill that I had to acquire, but you'd come home after being involved in something absolutely horrific or high stress, and the first thing you get when you walk through the door are all the minutia. This is not working, that's not working, or so-and-so and did this or said this. And you're looking at it like that's nothing compared to what I went through. And so sometimes you didn't address that properly. And as I matured, you learn to address it and understand that they didn't experience what you did. They weren't there the last four or 5 hours. And in many cases, it was almost like you had gone to war in some cases, because everything was so violent and rounds going off or pursuits and everything else. And then you come home and it's supposed to be a very sedate, very tranquil family life. And that's a hard thing to balance. And I think understanding that when an officer comes home, male or female, doesn't matter, that what they've experienced sometimes they don't want to talk about right away. And if you start pressing them on it, that might not be the best. It might be the best just to let it go for a while. But by the same token, it's kind of a give and take relationship. The officer coming home has to understand that the family that he's coming back to or partner he's coming back to may not have experienced, have no idea what they've been through, have no idea, the sights, smells, sounds, sensations that they experience were of a high stress nature, and it's very hard just to shut that down. One of the things that I would do, I remember when I was a young officer in Wilshire, and I was single at the time and lived out in the valley, but I would leave Wilshire and I'd drive down. Most of the stuff I did was all night watch, some day, but mostly night watch. And there was a 24-hour rib joint, I can't remember the name of it, and it was on La Brea, just south of Washington, on the west side. And I'd go in and get a whole big thing of ribs, and I'd just be eating ribs on the way home, and they were great. They had ones that absolutely put your, tallywhacker in the dirt. And these things were just eye-wateringly hot. But I would eat those and just relax and listen to music on the way back. And for myself, that was kind of a de-stressor. I know in Metro, and years later, D-Team and everything else, we had the Academy Club to go to. And that was a major de-stressor because you could talk with other people that had experienced it, and some of the capers, almost nobody talked about the negative stuff or the violence, but what we did talk about are the real funny capers, and you would leave the club with your jaw aching from laughing so hard and everybody kind of hitting each other with these just one-liners. And it was constant because you've got all these alpha males who are very fast on their feet, very quick thinkers, and no matter what you said, you're going to have 5 or 6 retorts, and then there are 20 retorts to those, and it just snowballed. And that was a great de-stressor, back in the day. That's not available anymore, and probably for good cause on a number of different levels. But I think one of the things to understand is that what you're dealing with on a day-to-day basis and the stress that is attendant with being a law enforcement officer, especially in a high crime area, high functioning area, is that just by understanding that other people don't experience and your family don't experience on a daily basis, hourly basis, the sensations and the feelings and the calls that you went on, I think if you can understand and be empathic toward them, I think that goes a long way in how you can relate to them and help yourself de-stress. Everybody's going to have their own technique. Alcohol is not necessarily a good one. Obviously, drugs isn't. But I think having hobbies you can go to, or having a system where you come home and you just relax, maybe you're left alone, you eat, have a beer or something, watch an old, I don't know, science fiction movie, whatever it takes for you just to download. And if a spouse or significant other asks, hey, you know, what happened tonight? And you say, well, you might, instead of saying, I'm not going to talk about it, maybe perhaps saying, can we discuss this some other time, because what I saw is very disturbing. Anyway, I don't know if that helps at all. I hope it does. The one thing I don't want to see is an individual who comes home and has a lot of mental health issues due to the fact that they don't know how to deal with all the stressors that are involved in high-functioning police work. Thank you.